intelligence. The U.S. is the leading producer of AI software, far outpacing China and Russia, says Alex Karp, co-founder of Palantir, whose technology is being used in Ukraine and in the Middle East. But fear that AI could lead to killer robots and taking humans out of the so-called kill chain has led to anxiety and threats of regulation that worries American innovators. Former intelligence analyst Shannon Clark says this targeting technology would have helped shorten the war in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Some software can also streamline the supply chain and find nefarious cargo ships hiding in plain sight. Benny Gantz, a member of the Israel War Cabinet, has threatened to resign from the government unless it adopts a new plan for the war in Gaza within 3 weeks. Prime Minister Netanyahu is under growing pressure on multiple fronts. Hardliners in his government want the military offensive on Gaza's southernmost city of Rafah to go ahead with the goal of crushing Hamas. But the U.S. and other Israeli allies have warned against that. America is listening to Fox News.
I'm Dana Perino, co-host of The Five and co-anchor of America's Newsroom. Join me for my brand new podcast, Perino on Politics. Listeners of Everything Will Be Okay will gravitate toward this podcast too. Every Monday, I'm going to talk to people I trust in politics as they tell me what they're seeing and thinking in the 2024 election cycle. As they prep me to cover the upcoming election, they'll prep you, the voters, too. Make sure you subscribe to this series on foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts and leave a rating and review.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey there, it's me, Kennedy. Make sure to check out my podcast, Kennedy Saves the World. It is 5 days a week. Every week, we check in with Jimmy Fallon, bring in authors for the book club, and even treat some of your favorite Fox personalities to a very special happy hour. Download and listen at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
Kennedy Saves the World. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Getting ready for a big game. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. The Indiana Pacers kept their season alive with a win over the New York Knicks Friday night. John Herrick reports on their biggest game of the season coming up.
Go Pacers! Let's go Pacers!
Shortly after their win in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, the celebration was on for Pacer fans outside Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Pacer guard Tyrese Halliburton says now that a decisive Game 7 is back in New York at Madison Square Garden, it seems fitting.
Where better to have a Game 7 than the Garden, so I'm really excited about it. Our group's excited to get the opportunity to compete.
The winner moves on to the Eastern Conference Finals to face Boston, and the loser goes home. Tip-off is Sunday afternoon at 3:30 Eastern. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
After experiencing a few cloudy and rainy days, you may be pleased to know that the weekend is expected to be mostly dry and warm. The National Weather Service Northern Indiana tweeted that temperatures in the low to mid-80s should hang around through the middle of next week. Thunderstorms and severe weather could return late Tuesday through early Wednesday. The average price for gas across the state is currently $3.61 per gallon, according to GasBuddy.com. That's on par with the national average of $3.60. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Tonight, mostly clear skies remain in place, low temperatures in the low 60s, and for tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high temperatures into the mid-80s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Hey there, from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm Brendan King with your 93 WIBC track update. Just under 2 hours to go on day one of qualifications here from 16th in Georgetown, and this is usually when the drama starts because there are some big names on the outside looking in to get into the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500. The last row shootout tomorrow, as well as the Fast 12. Going over that Fast 12, Will Power, Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Kyle Kirkwood, Kyle Larson, Felix Rosenquist, Santino Ferrucci, Takuma Sato, Alex Palou, Colton Herta, and Marcus Armstrong. But of the outside looking in, Graham Rahal, Catherine Legg, Marcus Erickson, and Nolan Siegel are all struggling to find speed. Renus VK, who crashed earlier in turn 3, back on the track right now, but Ericsson, the 2022 champ, facing adversity. Brendan King, 93 WIBC.
One of my favorite things about playing high school sports is being a part of something bigger than myself.
I love being a part of a team and having a place where I belong. I'm Georgia Ferguson from East Central High School.
And I'm Jace Martin from North Harrison High School. The moments that often stand out most for student athletes happen off the playing field.
It's the team dinners, bus rides, and the music in the locker room.
It's the camaraderie, shared experiences, and being with your friends.
That sense of community helps you develop pride in who you are and what you represent.
Playing high school sports is where the values of your team, school, and community are on display for everyone to see.
It's a chance to show the best of us and make memories that will last a lifetime.
I am IHSAA Commissioner Paul Neidig. Be a champion of high school sports and support these memorable moments by buying a ticket to your school's athletic events. This is forging friendships. This is building community. This is your IHSAA.
Want to find out what real retirement planning is all about? Tune in to Expedition Retirement with Greg Ayler, Sunday mornings at 7 on WIBC.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. We're thrilled you're with us. I've spent a lot of time in the studio here recently. If you tuned in, I co-hosted on Hammer and Nigel. Nigel is on a well-deserved vacation in Florida. Although you might say Nigel takes a lot of well-deserved vacations, but he's a good guy. He's a hard worker. And he had an opportunity to take a great trip to Florida. So I co-hosted with Jason Hammer on Hammer and Nigel the last couple of days and just had so much fun. It's a lot of fun to sit in on that show on the afternoon drive time segment. And it just, it makes for a lot of fun. Yesterday, I was challenged, I guess, to participate in what Hammer and Nigel were calling the Celebrity Beer Bong Challenge. And so I said, sure, I'll step up to that. And so we were, several of us, over a sequence of different weeks and shows on Beer Sample Friday, they call it, on Hammer and Nigel, had to imbibe a beer from a beer bong. I can honestly say, and listen, I was a fraternity guy in college. I've chugged a lot of beers. I had never used a beer bong before. That was a new experience for me. But hey, it's just chugging a beer, and I would like to say I kicked its ass as a rather well-experienced consumer of beer. But it was just fun. It was a fun afternoon, and thanks to Hammer and WIBC for having me on there. Here on the Gun Guy Show, man, we've got a lot to talk about, as we always do. We could have a really interesting term or two from the U.S. Supreme Court on Second Amendment issues. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into those decisions that we expect to see and a couple that we're hoping to see. And we'll get into those issues. Before we do, I really have to tell you that it's an important time for me personally with respect to the Indiana General Assembly and where we are on gun laws in Indiana, where we expect to be going forward. And the reason I say that is that here, the term ended here not too long ago for 2024. And right as part and parcel with all of that, we had an announcement that Representative Jerry Torr is not going to run for re-election. So he's announcing and has announced his retirement from the Indiana General Assembly. And listen, this is a big deal. Jerry's been a member of the Indiana General Assembly since 1996 and been a chairman of multiple committees, most recently the Judiciary Committee in the House. And that's an important committee for gun rights. For instance, when my self-defense immunity bill, I say I feel paternalistic about that bill. It was authored and offered by Representative Jim Lucas. I actually wrote it originally. But when that was introduced, it got assigned to the Judiciary Committee in the House, chaired by Jerry Torr. And Jerry gave it a hearing. Representative Torr, I should say, gave that a hearing in that committee and was clearly an advocate for it. But it goes well beyond that. And listen, this leads into a broader discussion that I'm going to get into probably off and on throughout the show, and that is that when you hear people criticize legislators or you hear people criticize the legislative process, and they speak in these gross overgeneralizations, things like, all Republicans are this, that, and the other thing. All Republicans are, bought out by their contributors or are all rhinos, probably the most often overused term that we hear people criticizing legislators. When you hear people use these broad descriptions and broad overgeneralizations, it's generally people that have never spent any time in the context of the Indiana General Assembly, have never spent any time at the State House, have never offered a bill, have never written a bill, have never worked with individual legislators to actually try to accomplish something in the General Assembly. I've never asked for a meeting, never asked for a sit-down, never asked, to get a group of legislators together to support an important legislative initiative. And listen, my thing is the Second Amendment. You know that. I'm on the damn Gun Guy show, for crying out loud. So that's my sphere of influence. That's my sphere of interest. But no matter what it is, doesn't matter. Taxes, sure. Property taxes specifically, you bet. Whatever interest you have, nothing prevents anyone, any resident of the state of Indiana, to show up, to get a hold of their legislators, to ask for meetings. And listen, I don't get any special access because I have a radio show. I have a radio show because I participated in the legislative process for years and years and years and got some good things done. I just decided I wanted to be involved. So I started showing up. I started making calls. I started making contacts. And in that process, did I develop some friendships with people in the Indiana General Assembly? Yes. Yes, I did. I developed some very close friendships with people in the Indiana General Assembly. Occasionally I hear people criticize me. Oh, Guy's just sticking up for his buddies in the Indiana General Assembly. Do I have buddies in the Indiana General Assembly, male and female? Hell yeah, I do. There are people in the General Assembly I take a bullet for. You know why? Because I've worked with them for a damn long time. I worked with them on important issues. I saw them step up. I saw them put their own political careers potentially at risk in several different examples because they wanted to push through a legislative agenda that supports your Second Amendment rights. And there are a lot of examples of that. A lot of examples. And so these broad criticisms, these Republicans this, even Democrats that, hey, let's call people out by name, man. Let's talk about who's responsible for this, that, and the other thing. Let's talk about who's done what, who's voted a certain way on bills over time, who's taken the lead in committees, who's gotten things done or who's kept us from getting things done. Let's name names. Let's talk individuals. That's what we should always be doing. When you hear Republicans this and Republicans that, I get so tired of hearing that. I hear it right here on this radio station. You know what that is? That's laziness, and it's lack of information. It's lack of a willingness to actually dig down in deep and figure out what individual legislators, including leaders in the General Assembly, are not voting the way you want them to vote, are not supporting the initiatives that you want them to support. It's like any other endeavor. When you try to overgeneralize, you simply show your stupidity and your laziness. It's all about individuals. What have you done? What have you not done as an individual? And I can tell you, are there rhinos, quote unquote? If you're one of the few people who doesn't understand that acronym, it's Republican in name only. Do we have those in the General Assembly? Oh my, yes. Do we have those on Second Amendment issues? Oh my, yes. Have we been flat stabbed in the back on Second Amendment issues by Republicans? Yes. We sure as hell have. And you've heard me talk about that a lot here on the Gun Guy Show. And I name names, man. It's an individual basis. On that basis, you can't just, and I see this on social media all the time. And I see it in the print media. I hear it on the radio. I hear it right here on this station. Well, you can't trust Republicans on this issue. You can't trust Democrats on that issue. Look, I don't trust Democrats on many issues, but I'm willing to name names and explore who's individually responsible for holding up what you want to get accomplished, or for voting against you specifically, or for proposing those legislative items that you specifically oppose. It's an individual game. It's an individual process. And we're a little past the quarter hour. We come back. I want to talk about one of the good guys, absolutely one of the good guys that we're not going to have going forward in the General Assembly. That's Representative Jerry Torr. That's how I began this conversation. And really what a tremendous impact he's had on us as Hoosiers, for conservative principles here in Indiana, and why I'm personally sad to see him leave the General Assembly. He's going to continue to be my friend, undoubtedly, going forward, but we're not going to have him in the General Assembly, and that's disappointing to me on several different levels. We'll get into that a little bit, and then talk about what we expect to see out of the Supreme Court. It's going to directly affect your Second Amendment issues here sooner than later. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
Do they still do mail in Carmel?
Carmel, don't ever change.
I love the living statues that sit on the benches. They're awesome.
Yes, that's how people from Greenwood earn extra money. Oh, I'm going to get emails. What have I done? You know everybody here is just in debt and house poor up to their ass. Don't you laugh, Zionsville. You have it worse. $1.13 trillion of credit card debt. Half of that is on the west side of Carmel.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Indiana Gun Club. Indiana Gun Club is Indiana's premier shotgun club. They're located in Fortville, just minutes from Indy. They've got over 2,000 guns in inventory. They've got a great clubhouse with the largest selection that you'll see of shotguns, pistols, and rifles. They sit on 150 acres where they offer trap, skeet, and sporting clay. Hey, I'm a sporting clay shooter, and my favorite place to shoot is out at Indiana Gun Club. They've got 12 stations, beautifully renovated, fully covered on each station, and all the pathways now are fully paved, so it's a great place to go even when the weather's a little questionable. It's just a lot of fun. They host tournaments, registered shoots, fun shoots for all kinds of different organizations, including the youth leagues like Scholastic Clay Target programs, and it's just a great place to go exercise your Second Amendment rights. Check them out in Fortville. They're at 14926 East 113th Street. That's 14926 East 113th Street. Technically, it's Fortville, but just a little bit from Geist. Or you can check them out at IndianaGunClub.com. This is Indiana Gun Club, Indy's premier shotgun club. Check them out again at IndianaGunClub.com.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-444-9336. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-444-9336. That's 800-444-9336. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with, call Big Lou at 800-444-9336.
The great vehicles are at Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield, and they are your EV headquarters. You should shop the Moore selection. Head to Andy Moore Ford or andymoreford.com. Shop the EV models like the Mustang Mach-E, which I've driven, the E-Transit, the F-150 Lightning, which is incredible. All in stock with more arriving daily. Check out More Power. The Ford Mustang Mach-E combines the iconic Mustang heritage with the benefits of an electric vehicle. Not just efficient, incredibly stylish, it's an exhilarating driving experience. But you need more room, more versatility out of your vehicle. The all-electric F-150 Lightning has you covered with seating for up to 5, intelligent backup power, and onboard power for all your tools and gear. This is the all-electric truck that is built for it all. Visit my friends down at Andy Moore Ford, and they'll help make the switch to an EV easier than ever. Check them out on Main Street in Plainfield or online at Andy Moore Ford, M-O-H-R. I love Andy. Shop anytime online, andymoreford.com.
Mark Dietl is the only real estate expert I would trust with the sale of my home. How about Luke and Emma in Franklin? Here's what they had to say. We bought land and began building our new dream home, but then we had to sell our old place at the right price. The Mark Dietl team got us multiple offers in the first weekend and negotiated for us to stay while we completed our new place. It was stress-free and easy with Mark Dietl.
What separates Mark Dietl from the competition is the guarantee. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. That is the Mark Dietl guarantee. Pick your move date, no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. Call Mark Dietl today, 317-755-4232. He's the only agent we trust and recommend on the Hammer and Nigel show. You can also go online to markdietl.com. That's Mark, D-I-E-T-E-L, markdietl.com.
JMV here from Miss M's. Their open house is this Saturday. Food trucks, music, giveaways, Malorun Winery, and more are going on. You have to shop Miss M's this week for a great spring sale. 20% off all container shrubs and trees. Not only that, but perennials are 30% off through Sunday. Miss M's greenhouse is bursting with color. 20% off the nursery stock, 30% off perennials, great annuals, and more on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville. It's Miss M's Home and Garden.
Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's family-owned jewelry store, is dedicated to quality and fine craftsmanship. Let them help you celebrate that special moment in your life. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers. Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And again, I'm talking about, here in a minute, I'll be talking about what's going on in the Supreme Court. And this has the potential to really be a game changer on Second Amendment issues in the Supreme Court. In the meantime, I really wanted to spend some time here to begin this show saying thank you to a longtime member of the Indiana General Assembly, a longtime committee chair of Judiciary. Before that, on rules. And the legislator, a lot of people say, is specifically responsible for our right-to-work law we have in Indiana, which basically says you shouldn't be required to join a union unless it's your decision to join a union. That's a big deal. It was a big damn deal at the time. Man, I remember we had buses showing up in downtown Indy with people from Chicago and who knows where else, piling off, all coming in to protest and pressure lawmakers on behalf of big labor. And a few legislators stood up to that. And one of those, and really the leader of that, was Jerry Torr. But another reason why I want people to understand the real impact that this gentleman has had is, I'm over there, man. Anybody will tell you, I show up. I'm over there. I testify at the committees. I have meetings. We're sending the early morning emails, and we're having the late evening get-togethers to plot strategy and legislation, and Jerry's always been a part of that. But Jerry was always the adult in the room. And I got to tell you, like one of the most important bills that I've worked on, obviously constitutional carry is huge. And that was, what a lot of us thought of as kind of the pinnacle of getting that done on gun rights in Indiana. Doesn't mean we're done by any means. There's a lot more to work on. And I talk about those issues here on the Gun Guy Show all the time. But, one that really meant a lot to me was our self-defense immunity bills I mentioned back in 2019. And that, in large part, is because I had represented multiple people who were completely justified, completely legal in using force, including deadly force, to defend themselves or defend other people. Absolutely justified. Local prosecutors never dreamed for a moment of filing criminal charges against these people because they were heroes. And I've defended multiple people exactly in that scenario. And in 2019, it was a wonderful, heroic lady named Kirsty Jaden. And Kirsty saved the life, literally. Anyone involved with the situation, anybody familiar with the situation will tell you, Kirsty saved the life of a police officer, literally in her front yard down in Rising Sun, Indiana, as that officer was about to be shot in the face with his own handgun after stopping a guy high on meth, high on other illegal drugs, stopped him in a traffic stop right in front of Kirsty Janen's house, Janen at the time. The bad guy attacks the police officer. The bad guys win in the fight. Kirsty ran out there, saved the officer's life, and in doing so, used deadly force. And everybody called her a hero, except almost 2 years later, just before the statute of limitations would have run, she gets sued for millions of dollars by the family of the dead bad guy, saying, oh, she just overreacted. I saw a press conference where basically they said she was just a hysterical female who overreacted to a couple guys tussling, because after all, that's what guys do. We tussle. No reason to overreact and run out there and shoot somebody. Conveniently omitting the fact the bad guy had control of the officer's gun and was about to shoot him in the face and kill him. And one thing I'm forever grateful for is the local fraternal order of police out there, the FOP, got together and said, you know what, this poor lady's been sued for millions of dollars. She's a hero for defending one of the members of the local law enforcement community. They got together and they started a GoFundMe, and they raised a bunch of money. And they called it Kirsty's Best Defense because they wanted her to have the best legal defense they could come up with for her. And they called NRA in Virginia and said, hey, we're looking for a self-defense lawyer here in Indiana. And I'm thrilled to say, I'm honored to say that NRA recommended me. They came, they interviewed me, Kirsty interviewed me, and she hired me. And what I told her at the time is I said, you know, Kirsty, not only are we going to win this ridiculous lawsuit that where the family of the dead bad guy is suing you for millions of dollars because you did what had to be done. You stepped up and you were a hero. But we're going to change Indiana law in the process. We're going to make it very clear under Indiana law that if you legally and justifiably use force in self-defense, not only should you not be prosecuted, but you can't get sued over that by some lowlife who was trying to kill you at the time, attack you at the time, or their family if that lowlife doesn't survive the encounter. And if you listen to the Gun Guy Show, listen, I don't celebrate any loss of life. I was raised differently than that. But as between a good guy and a bad guy, where the bad guy initiates a crime and the good guy defends him or herself, I'm okay with the result of that encounter being that the bad guy doesn't survive and the good guy does. I'm not going to celebrate it. I'm not that mercenary. But at the same time, I'm just fine with that result. So I wrote a bill. And yes, we got her lawsuit dismissed. But I wrote a bill, and I called my friend Jim Lucas and said, Jim, I really want to change the law in Indiana. I want to make sure we have complete legal immunity against civil liability if you lawfully and justifiably use force in self-defense. And Jim said, oh, hell yes. Let me work with you on that. So I wrote it. Jim introduced it. And where'd it get assigned? It got assigned to the Judiciary Committee in the House. And that's chaired by one Jerry Torr, the gentleman that I'm really paying respects to here. Paying respects to. Sound like he's not around anymore. That's certainly not the case. Jerry's healthier than I am. But that I really want to acknowledge here on the show. And we had to fight through that process. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy, because the bill ended up getting combined with another bill on a lot of the other different issues, including the free 5-year license, including our church carry bill, which a lot of people were passionate about. And it turned into what we called the omnibus gun bill of that year in 2019. And there were a lot of inner workings, and there were several disagreements, even among the Republicans on the bills and what bills ought to take precedence and how this affected other bills from other legislators. And there was all this infighting, and it was rather dysfunctional to some degree. And a huge failing that I have, I'm purely willing, absolutely willing to admit, is, my mindset is as a litigator. I'm a fighter. That's what I do. I fight in the courts. That's just how I was raised. I want to take people on. I want. Let's go hands on, man. Let's go. Let's see how that works out. I'm getting pretty old for that, my mentality. But in the legislature, I tended to get mad. And there were others on our team who involved in those same bills who were angry because they were getting held up. They weren't going through as they needed to go through. And I wanted to start throwing hand grenades, figuratively speaking, and cornering some people and getting in their face. And I was angry. I was mad because things weren't progressing the way, in my mind, they clearly should have progressed. And you know who the adult in that room was? You know, the reason we have self-defense immunity today, well, Kirsty Janin, first and foremost, Jim Lucas, who authored the bill, but I got to tell you, in no small part, it was Jerry Torr, because Jerry Torr has this unique ability to be the adult in the room. When people like me want to start throwing hand grenades and want to start getting in people's faces and start poking fingers in people's chests and doing all the things that are absolutely non-productive and should not happen at all, we have adults in the room. And that's been true for, 28 years in the Indiana General Assembly since 1996. So I just wanted to say here on the Gun Guy Show that we are diminished in the sense that we don't have Jerry Torr in the Indiana General Assembly anymore. His accomplishments there go well beyond Second Amendment issues, not just right to work, but a lot of other legislative issues as well. But even when he wasn't the author of a bill, or even when he wasn't necessarily claiming the limelight on an issue, he was always the calm, smartest guy in the room, behind the scenes, making sure things happen the way they needed to happen. So listen, you see Jerry out in public, or drop him an email at the Indiana General Assembly website. Thank him for 28 years in the Indiana General Assembly, because gun owners, let me just tell you, residents of Indiana are better off generally for Jerry Torr. Gun owners, I'll tell you right now, because I'm there, man. I'm in the building. I'm doing the work. I'll tell you right now, firsthand experience, Jerry Torr has made life better for gun owners right here in Indiana. So, Jerry, my friend, thanks so much. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Joe Biden speaks gibberish. Joe Biden has a hard time walking. He can't find his way off of a stage. Don't give me this crap that Joe Biden's cognitively all there and way superior to Donald Trump in that category. This stapler that we've got in the studio is completely more qualified to be running this country right now than Joe Biden.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
According to a 2023 Gallup poll, 71% of non-retired adults are worried about retirement saving. At Howard Bailey Financial, we don't believe retiring with confidence should be guesswork. In fact, our mission is to help you gain clarity and purpose and elevate meaning in your life through personal and practical financial strategies. That's why we provide our Retire with Purpose Toolkit at no cost. In it, you'll find valuable information on minimizing taxes, maximizing Social Security, and building a retirement income you won't outlive. To receive your complimentary toolkit, text CLARITY to 866-482-9559. Take a step toward a more confident retirement with Howard Bailey Financial and text CLARITY to 866-482-9559.
This endorsement was not provided by a client of Howard Bailey. This individual was compensated for this endorsement. For more information, visit howardbailey.com/TS1.
Pat Sullivan here for Hope Plumbing. If you find yourself racing to finish your shower before the hot water beats you to the checkered flag, then it's time to consider a tankless water heater. During the month of May, my friends at Hope Plumbing are revving up their tankless deals. To celebrate the greatest spectacle in racing, install a tankless water heater and Hope Plumbing will take off $500. Let's go racing and start saving. Call Hope Plumbing or check their website at hopeplumbing.com for all their May deals.
Did you know if you have water, storm, or fire damage, the first step is on you? Yikes. It's your responsibility to mitigate damages. Mitigate? Yeah, that's a fancy word for call Michaelis. They'll take it from there, from boarding up, cleaning up, and fixing up, to getting you squared up with your insurance company, which is a whole other mess you can avoid. Make it Michaelis. Call 844-FIX-INDY.
This hour on WIBC, powered by Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's Diamond Engagement Ring Store.
Fox News, I'm Jane Fergus. President Biden campaigning in Atlanta this weekend, trying to shore up support from black voters. At one event, he talked about consequences of presumptive Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump winning the election.
He's laid out, and the Republicans in the House, he can tell you, my colleagues can tell you, they're laying out exactly what they're going to do if they win. Everything you let me do, everything you help me do, everything we've done, they want to undo.
Former President Trump has been referring to President Biden as the worst president ever. A member of Israel's war cabinet has threatened to resign if a new plan isn't put in place for Gaza. Benny Gantz spelled out a 6-point strategy that includes returning hostages, dismantling Hamas, and demilitarizing the Gaza Strip. America's listening to Fox News.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Reggie was a nurse for 16 years.
I had become very burnt out. I wasn't making good money.
Then it happened.
There was an ad for My Computer Career, and it just spoke to me.
My Computer Career was the best decision he ever made.
I could study anywhere from my laptop, and I was working in the first couple weeks of me being in class.
Reggie hit a home run.
The field is teeming with jobs.
Become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
The school is amazing.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu. This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
PA Jewelers in Brownsburg is your place for fine jewelry, custom pieces, one-of-a-kind pieces, vintage pieces, and also your place to sell jewelry. 3754 South Green Street in Brownsburg, PA Jewelers inside Premier Arms. You have old jewelry from grandma or jewelry you don't wear anymore? Come sell it for top dollar at PA Jewelers. I've sold jewelry there. My wife has. You're going to love the prices. PA Jewelers inside Premier Arms, 3754 South Green Street in Brownsburg, premierarms.com.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. By the way, give us a call. Join the discussion. 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. We'd love to take your calls, questions, challenges, disagreements, whatever it is you'd like to call in with. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. So Supreme Court this term could really get interesting. First of all, we're waiting on a decision, really any time. I'm a little surprised we haven't seen it by now, in the Rahimi case. And Rahimi is a case that, as a Second Amendment advocate, I'm a little concerned about, in the sense that it's considering the law, the federal law, that says if you're subject to a domestic violence order of protection, then you can't possess a firearm. And if people hear me say, well, you're nervous about that, Guy, what, you don't think that's a constitutional law, or you don't think the challenge to the constitutionality of that will be successful? I'm telling you exactly why I'm nervous about the decision, and that is that what we have from the Supreme Court going back a couple of years now in the Bruen case. This is New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen. It's really a decision that's completely changed the landscape on Second Amendment litigation and litigating what laws, whether the state or federal, that limit your constitutional rights under the Second Amendment, what laws are valid, what laws are constitutional, and what laws aren't. Because Bruen came out and changed the test for determining what laws are constitutional and what are not. Because for years, for decades, lower courts had been using this test that was really a balancing. It said, well, you know, how badly does this particular law infringe on the Second Amendment, on what they call a core value protected by the Second Amendment? And if it's just a little bit, then there was a particular level of scrutiny, they called it, that was applied to that. And there was this balancing as between the level of infringement, and a lot of people who are purists, like I am, on the Constitution would listen to that and go, wait a minute, a little bit of infringement is okay? What are you talking about? If it's infringement, it's infringement. What's the Second Amendment say? The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It doesn't say shall not be infringed a lot. It shall not be infringed too much. It says shall not be infringed. So what are we talking about? This degree of infringement or infringing on a core value. And then there was this balancing the courts would do, where if there's a compelling state interest in the law in question, and invariably states or the federal government would say, well, we're keeping citizens safe. Well, my gosh, that's an important state interest. And based on that balancing, courts would decide what's constitutional and what's not. And it was completely misplaced, completely inconsistent, in my mind, with the idea the founders ever had on how the Constitution is supposed to work, on how the Bill of Rights is supposed to work, and specifically how the Second Amendment was supposed to work. It says, no, shall not be infringed. It doesn't say shall not be infringed unless there's a really compelling state interest. It doesn't say if it's only a little bit of an infringement, then that's okay. It just says shall not be infringed. That's what the founders wrote. That's what they meant. And thankfully, here a couple of years ago in the Bruen decision, this New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen, the Supreme Court came out and said exactly that. They said, you know what, whether something's constitutional or not under the Second Amendment is, first of all, based on the text of the amendment. What's it say? What's it mean? What's it protect? And then, based on that, further from that, what's the history and tradition in this country of the regulation of that right based on what it says, what it means, what the founders intended. Is there a history and tradition of saying, well, this is okay and that's not? That's the test under Bruin. And that completely changed the landscape because all of a sudden, you've got laws being stricken down across the country saying, wait a minute, people that aren't violent can lose their gun rights just based on not being 21 instead of 18? You can't buy a gun? What? What's the history and tradition of that? You could join the militia in the sense of the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. You could sure as hell join the militia in 1791 when the Second Amendment was ratified before you were 21. So what the hell's the idea of restricting people below 21 from buying a gun? Does that make any sense based on the history and tradition in this country? Of course not. And that's why these laws are being stricken down. But there are a lot of courts out there in liberal jurisdictions that don't care much for the Bruin court. And they're looking for any way, I say the Bruin court, the Supreme Court that rendered the Bruin decision, and don't care much for the Bruin decision itself. And they're looking for any conceivable way to ignore it or get around it. And this goes on and on and on. I'll come back to the Rahimi case, how I think that's likely to be interpreted under the Bruin decision on text, history, and tradition, and then get into what else we expect to see coming out of the Supreme Court here sooner than later. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
We would listen to the race on the radio.
My brother and I would always end up in the back of a station wagon. We'd get to listen to the race, looking out back.
Can't watch the race on TV, it would be blacked out.
The magic of May.
We would listen to the race on the radio.
The traditions.
The race could be heard throughout the entire house.
The guys in the IMS radio network are the absolute best.
The memories.
We would go camping sometimes and listen to the race on the radio.
For more than 70 years, your home of the Indianapolis 500. 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Junk Viking. These are my friends at junkviking.com. They serve Hamilton County and surrounding areas. And these are the guys that I use here just recently when my wife and I had a whole bunch of stuff that needed to be hauled out of an attic and a basement that we're refurbishing. We're excited to get a hold of these guys. They can haul single items or they can do full house or estate cleanouts. They have great reviews on Facebook and Google. You can call them for removals of demolitions and removals of sheds, decks, play sets, hot tubs. You know it. You get a hold of them, you need something hauled off, something demolished, and these are the guys to get a hold of. It's junkviking.com or give them a call at 317-349-3169. That's 317-349-3169. My friends, they work for me and my wife. My wife loves these guys. She's looking for more stuff to have them haul off, and I don't blame her. That's junkviking.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
A slow network is no network for business. That's why more choose Comcast Business. And now we're introducing Ultimate Speed for Business, our fastest plans yet. We're up to 12 times faster than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And existing customers could even get up to triple the speeds at no additional cost. All from the company with 99.9% network reliability and advanced cybersecurity. It's Ultimate Speed from Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Don't miss out on our fastest speed plans yet. Get started with internet and security for $49 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract when you add one unlimited mobile line. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying gig bundle. Call 1-800-501-6000 or visit ComcastBusiness.com to switch today. In 62324, restrictions apply. New customers only with 300 megabits per second internet and security edge. Equal bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Compares Comcast Business 1.25 gig to 100 megabit per second 5G internet at Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Up to 3 times downloads for existing essential and standard customers.
You may not have 1,000 horsepower, but you're always racing. Whether it's to work, to pick something up, or drop someone off. So go the distance, knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Shop any of Hubler's 12 locations and choose from over 2,000 vehicles. Chevys, Fords, GMCs, Buicks, Nissans, Acuras, Mazdas, Hondas, and many more. All makes, all models. Certified vehicles, luxury vehicles, even the hard-to-find ones. Plus, every Hubler Q-certified vehicle is covered by a 128-point vehicle inspection and a free Carfax history report.
'Cause Hubler's got you covered.
No matter where you're racing to, go the distance, knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 12 locations.
Cover me!
Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
If your wedding anniversary is approaching, that means a visit to Barrington Jewels in Clearwater Crossing. You must see the truly one-of-a-kind creations at Barrington. You'll find exquisite and unique anniversary bands at great prices and with special financing available. Save time and effort and shop Barrington Jewels first. Consider upgrading her diamond, a truly special way to show your love. Plus, Swiss and German brand sport watches. Don't wait. Get to Barrington Jewels today. And remember, you haven't seen a diamond until you've seen a Barrington diamond.
Amber and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And I'll tell you what, we've had, Chris has called in the Gun Guy Show. Chris, welcome to the Gun Guy Show. What do you got for us?
I was just, I'm pretty much probably your age. You probably might be about 5 years older than me, but it just seems like nowadays with the gun. It seems like everybody's toting guns around everywhere. Like, since you don't need a gun permit no more, it seems like everybody thinks they can just have a gun in their side or whatever.
Well, hold on. So, since you don't need a permit, do you think like just anybody can carry a gun now? Is that what you think?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, I appreciate.
So, do you think criminals ever cared about having a license or didn't have a license to begin with?
No. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it seems like.
Well, then what's the problem with being able to carry a gun without a license?
Nothing. It's just the police aren't pushing. They're not pushing it. I mean, they
aren't pushing what? I'm completely missing your point. The police aren't pushing what?
Nobody's getting prosecuted for killing all these people. It really ain't got nothing to do with.
So you think law-abiding citizens who are carrying a gun under constitutional carry are the people that are, quote, killing all these people? You think that's what's going on?
No, I'm not saying that at all. No, you're taking me wrong. You're taking me wrong, guy. Sorry. I guess I said it wrong. But what I'm trying to say is it seems like all these kids and everything think they can carry guns now, and then you go to shoot, they go to kill somebody. Nobody's investigating it. No detectives are going.
Well, what's a permit? What I'm missing completely in your call. What's a permit have to do with that? How's a permit have to do with that?
I shouldn't have said the permit, I guess, but I think it seems like.
Well, no, I'm looking right at what you said to the producers. All these people carrying guns without a permit. What's a permit have to do with that? You think somebody under 18 could ever get a permit to begin with? So these kids, quote unquote, carrying guns. I mean, if you're 18, you're an adult. You can serve in the military. So they couldn't get a permit before. So how does carrying a gun without a permit have to do with anything?
I'm sorry, man. I said it wrong because I'm on your side, Guy, all the way.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. I'm sorry if I misinterpreted your call, but what I got was all these people carrying guns without a permit, and I take that as a criticism of constitutional carry. And I take that a little bit personally because I fought hard for 10 years for constitutional carry. I did that with a lot of really good legislators, including my friend Jerry Dorr that I mentioned, Jim Lucas, Ben Smaltz, Peggy Mayfield, Aaron Freeman, and over in the Senate, a lot of really good, really solid legislators. So, listen, are there too many people carrying guns? Well, of course there are. We have criminals carrying guns. Do we have kids, underage, who have no business, have no training, have no responsibility built into them yet whatsoever, have no life experience, running around carrying guns? Absolutely. But the permitting process has absolutely nothing to do with that. And Chris, listen, if I launched into a criticism of you unfairly, I apologize for that. But it gets my dander up a little bit when people start talking about people carrying guns without a permit, because that sounds like a permit would somehow keep bad people from carrying guns. And one thing we know absolutely, 100%, without any question, is that criminals don't care about a permit. People under 18 could never get a permit to begin with, so if they're carrying a gun, the permit has nothing to do with that. And frankly, the fact that criminals will carry guns and other people who have no legal business carrying a gun because they're criminals, because they have an intent to do harm to law-abiding citizens like me, is one of the reasons that I value my ability to carry a gun and defend myself, defend my family, and defend my fellow law-abiding citizens. That's something I feel strongly about and always will. So when we come back, we'll get into the Supreme Court issues and what we expect to see out of them here sooner than later. In the meantime, this is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Premier Deck Coating, the ultimate deck protection. Who are they? Well, they're a sister company of Rhino Shield, and Premier Deck Coating is the product you need if you're tired of applying the same old stain and paint every couple of years to your deck. It's Terry, Stacy, and David and I have a deck that's probably 25 years old. The countless hours and the money that we spend on maintaining that deck never ends. And then we heard about Premier Deck Coating, family-owned, based right here in Indy, and they are going to completely transform our deck with their special formulated product, which repels moisture, scratch-resistant in virtually any color that we want, and backed by a 10-year guarantee. No more spending time staining or painting every year. Premier Deck Coating will keep our deck looking great for years to come. Premier Deck Coating can also do fences and pergolas, too. For a free quote, call 317-696-4071 or visit premierdeckcoating.com.
Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndyHomebuyer.com. No inspection, no fuss. We only need to see it once. The IndyHomebuyer.com. Problem properties, tenants don't pay. Just hand us some keys and your problems go away. Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndyHomebuyer.com. Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndyHomebuyer.com.
No matter your reason for selling, TheIndyHomebuyer.com will pay cash for your house in any condition. If you're dealing with deadbeat tenants, big repairs, or inheritance, TheIndyHomebuyer.com is the solution. No hassle, no inspections. TheIndyHomebuyer.com.
Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndyHomebuyer.com. Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndyHomebuyer.com.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. For more info, visit centralindianagunshows.com.
20% off container trees and shrubs and 30% off perennials this week at Sundown Gardens in Westfield, 186th Street and Spring Mill Road, sundown.gardens.com.
Need air conditioning service and want to work with a local trained dealer you can trust, like Stevenson Heating and Cooling? Find that American Standard air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
The financial advisor industry is a flawed system. Find out how to fight back and protect your retirement on Expedition Retirement. Sunday mornings at 7 on WIBC.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News. 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
500,000 people in the dark. Fox News, I'm Jane Fergus. Hundreds of thousands of people have been cut off from electricity by the storms that slammed Houston earlier this week. Many people are using generators, but that's a concern for first responders. Rodney Reed of the Harris County Fire Marshal's office says 2 firefighters were checking on a home when a woman pulled a gun on them.
With the partnership of law enforcement, they came back up and were able to talk to this woman who was acting erratically and determined that her in-house generator was pumping dangerous amounts of carbon monoxide into the house. Medical professionals were able to address that.
Reed is urging residents to make sure generators are properly ventilated. Rising temperatures and a smog warning could complicate cleanup efforts. President Biden is in Atlanta this weekend, making campaign appearances and trying to shore up support from black voters. At one event, he opened up about how he feels about the presumptive Republican presidential nominee he'll face in this fall's election.
My opponent's not a good loser. But he is a loser.
Former President Trump has been referring to President Biden as the worst president ever. The former president is speaking today at the National Rifle Association's annual meeting in Texas, where he is throwing support behind the NRA and guns rights for Americans. A member of Israel's war cabinet has threatened to resign if a new plan isn't put in place for the war in Gaza. Benny Gantz spelled out a 6-point strategy that includes returning hostages and dismantling Hamas. America's listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcast Network.
I'm Emily Campagno, and this is the Fox True Crime Podcast.
And I had nothing to do with her disappearance, but people still accuse me of it.
I sit down with the people who lived the nightmares.
I was in shock. I was just devastated.
The investigators who tirelessly worked on the case.
I feel for their families, and I really hope that they can catch this guy.
Bringing you closer to the story than you ever thought possible.
Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Get all of your favorite Fox News podcasts commercial-free on Apple Podcasts with Fox News Podcasts Plus. From Dana Perino, Kennedy, Ben Domenech, The Duffys, and many more. Subscribe now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. The Fox News Rundown, a contrast of perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. Your daily dose of news twice a day. Featuring insight from top newsmakers, reporters, and Fox News contributors. Listen and subscribe now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Why a lawsuit was filed. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. A lawsuit was filed against Indiana Medicaid Friday. Harrison Silcox reports.
The lawsuit was filed on behalf of 2 families with children who have severe medical problems. That lawsuit is asking a judge to block the Family and Social Services Association from making parents ineligible to take part of the attendant care program. The program provides reimbursement for people who care for medically complex individuals, but parents may have to file for financial help under a different category that wouldn't reimburse them as much if certain cuts are made. The lawsuit claims the FSSA violated the Americans with Disabilities Act. Harrison Silcox, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Police say 1 boy was killed and another was hurt in an ATV crash in Benton County Friday afternoon. Wish TV reports that the 9-year-old and 11-year-old boys had gotten trapped under an ATV on South County Road 1100 East. Unfortunately, the 9-year-old died at the scene. The 11-year-old sustained minor injuries. At this time, it is not clear what led to the crash. But the Indiana Pacers kept their season going Friday night with a 116-103 win over the New York Knicks in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Game 7 on Sunday determines who moves on to the next round and who goes home. Game 7 is Sunday afternoon at 3:30. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Tonight, mostly clear skies remain in place, low temperatures in the low 60s, and for tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, high temperatures into the mid-80s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Hey there from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I'm Brendan King with your 93 WIBC track update. Just under 2 hours to go on day one of qualifications here from 16th in Georgetown, and this is usually when the drama starts because there are some big names on the outside looking in to get into the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500, the last row shootout tomorrow, as well as the Fast 12. Going over that Fast 12, Will Power, Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Kyle Kirkwood, Kyle Larson, Felix Rosenquist, Santino Ferrucci, Takuma Sato, Alex Palou, Colton Herta, and Marcus Armstrong. But of the outside looking in, Graham Rahal, Catherine Legg, Marcus Erickson, and Nolan Siegel are all struggling to find speed. Rinus VK, who crashed earlier in turn 3, back on the track right now, but Erickson, the 2022 champ, facing adversity. Brendan King, 93 WIBC.
Paid by Up-Level Rewards.
Hey, where did you get all that cash at?
You mean this 750 cash that's in my app right now?
Yes, that's 750 cash. Where did you get all that cash at?
Easy. I went to easycash44.com and claimed $750.
You claimed $750?
Yes. Just go to the easycash44.com and follow the simple instructions on the site. Once you finish, the $750 is yours.
It's that easy to claim $750?
Yes. You just answer the basic questions on the site, then claim the deals they show you, and get $750 cash sent to your app.
I'm always short on cash. I'm going to easycash44.com right now to claim my $750 cash at easycash44.com.
Ready to claim your $750? Get started right now at easycash44.com. Go to easycash44.com. Just go to easycash44.com, follow the simple instructions, and claim your $750 fast and easy. Go to easycash44.com. That's easycash44.com. Go to easycash44.com. easycash44.com. easycash44.com.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. And looking over here at the phone lines, I see my buddy Kelly from Avon, otherwise known as Kelly Myers, has called in. Kelly, buddy, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Guy. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. For people who don't know Kelly, he and I, we go way back. He's a proud member of the 2A Project. He's also co-legislative director for the Indiana State Rifle and Pistol Association. The president of the Indiana State Rifle and Pistol Association is also my buddy and supporting clay partner, Charlie Hill-Tunin, who's also a member of the National Board of Directors of NRA. But Kelly, I've heard a rumor here in just the last couple of days that ISRPA, Indiana State Rifle and Pistol Association, may be adding to its ranks here a little bit in terms of leadership.
It certainly is, Guy. Last fall when I took over, I found out at the meeting that I was going to be the co-director of, well, I've heard legislative and government affairs. They're kind of synonymous there. For the Indiana State Rifle and Pistol Association, and I was sworn to secrecy at that meeting as far as who was going to be the other co-director. And as I'd mentioned to you a few times, I said, I can't tell you, but I can guarantee you he is a heavy hitter. And, well, that heavy hitter is none other than Jerry Torr.
Okay. I'll be honest. I just heard that today from you, which is why I invited you to call in. But I did not know that. I mean, for somebody who thinks he has his finger on the pulse of what's going on, I had no idea it was going to be Jerry, and that's fantastic. What a great choice by you guys.
Well, and it was the president's letter in the Indiana Shooting Sports News, which I received today, that Charlie Hill-Tunin, the president of the ISRPA, did officially announce it. so I can don't have to keep the secret any longer. So that's a good thing. But I have to say, just from what when I was asked to step up for this role, I knew what I brought. I brought the rallying the troops. I brought, massing the forces is kind of how I look at it, because there's a lot of Pro 2A groups, but we're kind of split apart. You've got NRA members, you've got the ISRPA, you got the 2A project, and then, of course, you have Indiana Gun Owners, which is an online community with a whole lot of members. And so there is some overlap there with the membership, but I always thought if we could, and I'm involved with all four of those, so if we could bring them together, we could really mass the forces for Pro 2A. And with Jerry, 96, you said he's been in the State House. So, well, metaphorically speaking, of course, he knows where the bodies are buried.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Again, the connections, and listen, just being there and being a voice, because I heard all these other groups out there, Kelly, and you see them online and whatnot, claiming victory for that and claiming credit for the other thing. I mean, this new group, Indiana Firearms Coalition, which I don't know. I mean, I go back a damn long way going to the Indiana General Assembly fighting for 2A rights. Never seen these people.
That was the Dorr brothers or something like that, who evidently have a long history of scamming people. It's kind of scary when you see stuff like that.
But supposedly, these people are out fighting for gun rights. But you know what? Those of us who were there, and those of us who have butts in seats, and those of us are participating in the process, know who's involved and who's not. And ISRPA has been right there shoulder to shoulder with 2A project for quite some time. And I'm thrilled. I'm good for you. I just learned today that Jerry Torr was actually going to join you guys as your co-legislative director. And that's good. That's a great addition. So congratulations to you guys. And I look forward to working with both of you as we fight for 2A rights.
Yeah. And I think I know I'm a volunteer with the organization, and I heard Jerry actually gets paid less, so he may have to pay to actually be in this position that I'm in.
I got you. Okay. All right. Well, Kelly, hey, listen, thanks for calling in with that announcement. I appreciate that a lot. And congratulations. Again, this is a big deal, and it's going to do a lot for us on gun rights right here in Indiana. I'm excited about that. And I'll have more to talk about in that respect. Let's go back to the phone lines. Mike has called in with a question. Mike, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy, how are you?
Good, man. Thanks for calling.
I was wondering, is it against the law to carry a firearm into a bank? I've tried to do research on my own, and I've seen some people say it's against the law because there are federal guidelines involving private banks. And then I asked the manager of my bank that I go into all the time, and she said, no, not at all. We have business owners coming in to deposit large sums of money, and sometimes they open carry walking into the bank. So I've heard both, and I'm a little confused, so I thought I would give you a call.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike. And listen, you called the right place. I can tell you exactly. There's absolutely no law, state or federal, that prevents you from carrying a gun into a bank in Indiana. Now, there is a lot of confusion on that point, exactly to Mike's point, which is, and I see this, I hate to call it conventional wisdom because it may be conventional, but it's not wise. I see this stuff out on the internet all the time to say, oh no, your deposits are insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC. Therefore, it's there's a federal facility and you can't carry a gun into a bank. No. There's no such law at the state or federal level. And there's confusion for an additional reason, which is we have right here in Indiana. In fact, I've called out a couple of different bank managers on this issue. And right here in Indiana, we have some bank branches that are actually from banks that are based in Ohio. And I have a real firm idea in my mind of what bank I'm talking about, but I'm not so 100% sure I'm going to torch them on the radio. So I'll withhold identifying who I'm talking about for just right now. But we have banks that are based in Ohio. And apparently in Ohio, it is illegal to carry a gun in a bank. And the parent bank, the parent corporation of these banks, require their branches to put a sign on their door. I know I've seen it, and that's why I've called out a couple of these managers. It says, notice pursuant to, and it says pursuant to ORC and then some numbers, is illegal to carry a gun into this premises as a bank or financial institution or whatever it says from there. And I'm reading that, and I'm going, hold on, I do this for a living. There's no law that says it's against the law to carry carry a gun into a bank in Indiana. BS. Hell no. And I walked in, and plus this ORC thing, I'm going, pursuant to ORC, doesn't say Indiana code. That's what we call our statutes. What the hell is ORC? Turns out ORC was, if I'm remembering this correctly, Ohio Revised Code. They're quoting an Ohio statute. And I walk into the bank, and I went and found the manager's office and said, excuse me, about this sign on your door. And he goes, oh, yeah, I know. He goes, it's because we're an Ohio-based bank, and they require us to put that sign on the door. And I said, you're lying to your customers. You're telling them it's illegal to carry a gun into your bank, and it's not in Indiana. And some Ohio statute has no bearing, no effect whatsoever right here in Indiana. What the hell are you doing? And he goes, I know. He goes, hey, it wasn't my idea. Management makes me do it. I've even heard, and I've not seen this personally, and this, I'll tell you what, this is something that would set me off, is I've also heard that some of those same banks who say it's illegal to carry a gun into a bank in Indiana, which it is not, under state or federal law, actually have metal detectors set up where there's an outside door and then an interior door, kind of a double door into the entrance. And I've had multiple people tell me that if you set off the metal detector by carrying a gun, both those doors lock and lock you between those doors. Now, I'm not talking to anybody who's had this happen to them, so take this with a grain of salt. Another reason why I'm not naming the bank, so I wanted to be 1,000% sure that this exists, and I've heard this accurately before I name names on the internet, or on the radio. But let me just tell you, if I'm lawfully carrying my gun into your bank and I'm violating no state or federal law, and you lock me between the doors while you call law enforcement, we're going to have a problem. And we're going to have a problem that's going to see the light of day in a courtroom, because that's what we call criminal confinement. You have confined me in a way that's against the law. So no law against carrying a bank in Indiana, carrying a gun into a bank in Indiana. I bank at a long-standing local bank, and I love my bank. I walk in, the tellers know my name. I've had the bank personnel bring paperwork to my office in the middle of the day. It's a fabulous bank. I've banked there for probably 30 plus years, and I love the hell out of my local bank. And it wasn't too long ago I walked into a branch, and I was on my way to the range, so I happened to be open carrying, which is rare for me. I don't typically open carry, but at the range, I'm teaching a lesson. Yeah, I'm open carrying. And I walked in to make a deposit, and there was a local police officer sitting at the conference table, I think, who had been hired as a security guard while he's off duty, but he's wearing his uniform. And he looks up and looks at me, looks at the gun on my hip, started to stand up just to kind of ask me what the hell's going on with me carrying a gun into the bank. And one of the tellers who knows me goes, oh, no, that's Guy. We like it when Guy carries into the bank. Literally said, we like it when Guy carries into the bank. What are they saying? Hey, I'm another person there who's going to potentially help them out if a bad guy actually comes in and wants to do bad things in a bank. But that's where that is. And Mike, thanks for calling with that question. We're well past the quarter hour. It's time to take a break. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Who is having a conversation with the people scanning their groceries
Apparently,
anymore?
that's a sign of service, and people want to have that one-on-one service.
No, they don't.
With each
Kevin,
I do self-checkout because I don't want to do small talk.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
I want to
bull.
skip that. I just want to get my stuff and get out.
Nobody wants to have a conversation with the person they're checking out their groceries with.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular courses are Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class. I taught a great class out at Indy Arms today. We were there from 9 to 2. Great class, very engaged, a lot of great questions, and really enjoyed it. The next one of those is coming up on Saturday, June 1. Now, this is for the Armed Women of America. And so it's a closed course for Armed Women of America. But hey, if you're not a member of Armed Women of America and would like to join, go to armedwomen.org. It's just armedwomen.org. You can join and then sign up for our Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class coming up on Saturday, June 1. So it's coming right up, Saturday, June 1 at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range located in Avon. You can sign up right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just join armedwomen.org if you're not already a member. Then come on over to tactical-firearms.com. It's $50 for 5 hours. The most important legal information that you need as an Indiana gun owner, $95 for couples. Couples can come together as long as one of you are a member of Armed Women, and we'd love to see you there. It's Essentials of Indiana Gun Law for Armed Women of America at Parabellum Firearms in Avon coming up on June 1. Go to tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
You may not have 1,000 horsepower, but you're always racing. Whether it's to work, to pick something up, or drop someone off. So go the distance, knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Shop any of Hubler's 12 locations and choose from over 2,000 vehicles. Chevys, Fords, GMCs, Buicks, Nissans, Acuras, Mazdas, Hondas, and many more. All makes, all models. Certified vehicles, luxury vehicles, even the hard-to-find ones. Plus, every Hubler Q-certified vehicle is covered by a 128-point vehicle inspection and a free Carfax history report.
'Cause Hubler's got you covered.
No matter where you're racing to, go the distance, knowing Hubler's got you covered for 100,000 miles. Visit drivehubler.com or any of our 12 locations.
Cover me!
Warranty on select models less than 9 years old.
A slow network is no network for business. That's why more choose Comcast Business. And now we're introducing Ultimate Speed for Business, our fastest plans yet. We're up to 12 times faster than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And existing customers could even get up to triple the speeds at no additional cost. All from the company with 99.9% network reliability and advanced cybersecurity. It's Ultimate Speed from Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Don't miss out on our fastest speed plans yet. Get started with internet and security for $49 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract when you add one unlimited mobile line. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying gig bundle. Call 1-800-501-6000 or visit ComcastBusiness.com to switch today. In 62324, restrictions apply. New customers only with 300 megabits per second internet and security edge. EcoBell and autopay required. Equipment, tax, and fees extra. Compares Comcast Business 1.25 gig to 100 megabit per second 5G internet at Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Up to 3 times downloads for existing essential and standard customers.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Hi, I'm BJ Nichols, here with 6-time IndyCar champion Scott Dixon.
Flattered to be on the air with you, mate.
Scott, I'm flattered. You're the only driver who's won an IndyCar race in 19 consecutive seasons.
Yeah, but 19 doesn't compare to Reese Nichols' 100 years of 5-star service and selection.
It's not a race, Scott.
Actually, it kind of is. I do need an anniversary gift, so can we race back to the store?
Let's do it. That way you can talk with the experts at Reese Nichols Jewelers, Keystone at the Crossing, Greenwood, and at reesenichols.com. Let's celebrate.
Your bathroom is boring and basic too. It seems like there's nothing you can do. A better bath awaits. You'll look brand new, relaxing in a world of peace at the Bath Authority.
Hey, it's Rob. Right now, schedule your free in-home estimate and get $1,500 off a new shower or bath, plus 36 months of interest-free financing. Restrictions apply. A better bath awaits.
You're our priority at the Bath Authority.
Race into Pierce Jewelers in Carmel for a pit stop to find that perfect diamond engagement ring for your loved one that will put you in the winner's circle. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Gun Guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Thanks so much to our callers so far tonight, and give us a call. If you want to join the discussion, you still have questions. We got 35 minutes left in the show. Be glad to take your calls with questions or comments, whatever you'd like to provide. 317-239-9393. As I've been talking about, we're expecting what could be some very significant news out of the Supreme Court. And I mentioned sort of what the legal landscape has been since the Bruin decision here a couple of years ago that redefined the test under which laws, whether it's state or federal gun control law, whether it's constitutional under the Second Amendment. And one of those challenges, it's already been accepted by the Supreme Court, it's already been argued, so we're just waiting on a decision, is this Rahimi case. And Rahimi is challenging the federal law that says you can't possess a firearm if you're subject to a domestic violence order of protection. And listen, the reason a lot of us are concerned about this case is that Rahimi's not a good guy by all reports. His lawyer, during oral arguments, admitted there's a history of violence with this guy, that he is reported to have physically abused multiple women. There appears to be a confirmed report he fired a shot at a passerby who was trying to intervene while he was abusing a woman, trying to shove her into a car against her will. But the odd thing about the case is that in the process of all of that, he'd not been convicted of a crime that prevented him from possessing a firearm. And listen, you get convicted of a crime of domestic violence, you can't possess a gun. You're done. There's a restoration process after 5 years here in Indiana, which can restore your rights. But absent that process, you're done. You can't possess a firearm if you have a conviction for a crime of domestic violence, as I talked about in my gun law class today. But Rahimi had not been convicted of a crime that prevented him from possessing a gun, but one of the people that he allegedly abused had gone to the courts and gotten a domestic violence order of protection. And a domestic violence order of protection says, hey, you can't bother this person, you can't stalk them, you have to maintain some distance from them. Different orders in different states are worded different ways. But he'd had a domestic violence order of protection issued against him in Texas. And here's the thing that's important to know, and when this decision comes out, this is really where I'm going to be focused, which is this is a civil proceeding. It's not a criminal case. And that's important on a couple of different levels. First of all, because it's only a civil proceeding, it's not a criminal case. You don't go to jail just by having a domestic violence order of protection issued against you. It's civil in nature, but because it's civil in nature, and this is the way it worked in Texas, and very similar in Indiana, is you don't have a right to counsel. You don't have a right to a lawyer. If someone wants to get a domestic violence order of protection against you and they file the application for that and that gets set for a hearing and you show up and you say, I want a lawyer, judge is going to say, well, you're not entitled to a lawyer at the state's expense. So either you hire your own lawyer or you don't. And a lot of them are going to say, well, we're scheduled for a hearing. You don't have a constitutional right to a hearing. you don't have a constitutional right to a lawyer at this hearing. So we're going to go ahead and have us a hearing because you didn't hire a lawyer on your own at your own expense. Secondly, the burden of proof is not beyond a reasonable doubt. In other words, the person who's asking for the domestic violence order of protection doesn't have to prove that you've abused them or assaulted them or threatened them or harassed them or stalked them. The different prerequisites for the hearing, prerequisites for the order to be entered. They don't have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. It's just preponderance of the evidence. That's a civil standard. It basically means the greater weight of credible evidence by 50.0001%. And by the way, don't take anything I'm talking about here. I said this in my class today when I was discussing these same issues. Don't take anything I'm talking about here on the radio as me minimizing the problem with domestic violence in this country. That is not where I'm coming from. Not by a long shot. We have a huge problem with domestic violence in this country. My mother's been the victim of domestic violence. Not from my father. It was long after they went their separate ways. But in another relationship, my mother was a victim of extreme domestic violence. And so we have a huge problem in this country with domestic violence. And I don't ever, under any circumstances, in any context, want to minimize the problem we have with that particular issue, which is domestic violence. Having said that, the federal law that says you can't possess a gun if you have a domestic violence order of protection entered against you means you can lose a constitutional right when you had no due process protection in terms of the right to counsel and based on a burden of proof that's the same in civil cases, not criminal cases, which is merely preponderance of the evidence. That's a due process question. Should you lose a constitutional right under that circumstance? That's an issue in the Rahimi case. It's currently before the Supreme Court. It's already been argued. We're just waiting on the decision. But separately, and this is the primary argument, and this is what the oral argument was really focused on before the Supreme Court, it was when someone has not been convicted of a crime, can they be stripped of their right to bear arms, and is there a history and tradition of that type of regulation in this country? And that's clearly where the justices were focused during the oral argument, and I think that's where the decision is going to be focused. And that's not necessarily good for Second Amendment rights. It may be good for the women that this Rahimi guy is accused of having abused historically. And I won't shed a tear for him individually in any way, shape, or form, no matter how this case turns out, because by all accounts, he's not a guy we should be supporting in any way. But separate from that, what I'm concerned about is they'll come out and say, well, even though you don't have due process protections, in terms of the right to counsel, for instance, even though it's just a preponderance of the evidence standard, if a court finds that there's enough evidence that you're somehow violent or dangerous such that a domestic violence order of protection ought to be entered against you, that's okay, because the history and tradition of regulating Second Amendment rights in this country is consistent with taking guns away from violent people. And I get the violent people part. Okay, do I want violent people to have guns in this country? Well, of course not. Not to the extent people are likely out there committing crimes and victimizing innocent people. But that's a separate question from whether you should lose a constitutional right when you've had no due process protections, when the burden of proof is so low, when you can show up to a hearing and have no right to counsel, which is something afforded to you under the 5th and 14th Amendments in terms of due process. That's a separate question. That is going to be fascinating for me when we see the Rahimi decision, which I expect to be sooner than later. Secondly, and this is what I'll get into for the rest of the show, the Supreme Court's also considering whether it's going to take some additional cases that could rule on incredibly important issues, including a so-called assault weapon ban. In fact, 2 days ago, on the 16th, on Thursday, the Supreme Court had an internal conference among the 9 justices of the Supreme Court to consider whether they would take several cases, actually 5 related cases, on the issue of assault weapon bans and or high-capacity magazine bans, and whether those are constitutional also under the test we have in Bruin. Fascinating stuff. Right now, we're a little past the bottom of the hour. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Like magic, it appears in the sky. A rainbow. Somewhere over that rainbow lurks not bluebirds or dreams. Hidden behind that beauty is trouble.
Get a cone tornado right there.
Don't be fooled.
Tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornado on the ground! Confirmed tornadoes. Oh my gosh, look at it. Oh my gosh.
This spring, depend on your severe weather station.
Baseball size hail.
93 WIBC.
Tire Discounters announces our latest breakthrough, TD Chat BS. This software allows us to detect untruths, deceptions, and even outright lies.
Let's listen in as we call a local car dealer.
Hi, I drive your model of auto or truck. I need servicing.
Oh, that's great. You should always call the dealer for service to make sure your warranty stays intact.
Untruth.
Excuse me?
I can attend at Tire Discounters for all services, even for all manufacturers' scheduled maintenance. Warranty not affected.
But it's only us dealers who really know our own models.
Deception. Tire Discounters ASE technicians are certified experts for all makes and models.
Okay, maybe.
How many dollars do you charge me for? As few as Tire Discounters?
We are not that much more.
Outright lie. Ending call now. Bye. Adios. Aloha. Hasta la pasta.
Don't miss Tire Discounters Savor the Summer Sale. Details at TireDiscounters.com.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie. For more info, visit centralindianagunshows.com.
JMV here for Sundown Gardens in Westfield and Miss M's in Bargersville. Now through Sunday, get 20% off container trees and shrubs and 30% off perennials at Miss M's Home and Garden and Sundown Gardens. Miss M's in Bargersville, located on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road. MissM'sHomeandGarden.com. Sundown Gardens in Westfield 186 and Spring Mill Road. SundownGardens.com. 20% off container trees and shrubs and 30% off perennials now through Sunday. Tell them JMV sent you.
This hour on WIBC is powered by Pierce Jewelers, designers of fine custom jewelry.
Fox News, I'm Jack Callahan. Stifling heat hampering residents' cleanup and recovery efforts from Thursday's deadly storms in the Houston area.
We need help. I'm on the breathing machine. People over here got medical issues. We need help, but we need water and food.
I would like some answers as far as how long it's going to be. If maybe we need to make plans to actually leave the area for a while.
With temperatures in the 90s, hundreds of thousands of people still have no power. 7 people were killed by the storms. The UAW charging Mercedes threatened to punish workers if they voted to unionize. The vote at 2 Mercedes plants in Alabama failed. UAW President Shawn Fain.
Justice isn't just about one vote or one campaign. It's about getting a voice and getting your fair share. And, workers won serious gains in this campaign. Don't lose sight of that.
The union has 5 days to contest the results. America is listening to Fox News.
It is more important than ever to hire the right agent to sell your home to maximize its sales price. That is why I recommend Mark Dietl. Mark and his team have the plan and experience to sell your home fast for maximum cash. Maybe you want maximum equity from your home, but not sure how. Mark Dietel guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what Dan and Casey in Indianapolis had to say about working with Mark Dietel. We were ready to downsize, and we needed to sell quickly. To make it all work, we needed to get a great price fast, of course. Mark Dietel made it happen. We got our asking price without any repairs or an appraisal. The Mark Dietel team delivered exactly what we needed. Call the local Indianapolis agent I trust and recommend and the agent who guarantees your home sold, or he'll buy it. Call Mark Dietel, 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdietel.com. That's Mark, Dietel.com.
Michaelis presents Password. The word is basement.
Wet. Rain.
Leaky.
Faucet.
Stinky.
Socks.
Moldy?
Underwear.
No, it's basement. Really moldy underwear.
Well, sometimes.
Ew. Basement waterproofing and French drains. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Come on, take your basement back. 844-FIX-INDY.
Just Capital is a nonprofit that tracks which companies are a force for good. Companies like Bank of America, which just earned the Just Capital seal. Bank of America is ranked #1 for ongoing commitment to their workers, with initiatives like Sharing Success, which awarded 97% of their teammates additional compensation, nearly all in stock. This is the program's 7th consecutive year, awarding more than $4.8 billion in total. Visit justcapital.com to learn how a just business is a better business.
Furnished by Just Capital.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. We're going to get back to what we expect out of the Supreme Court. However, in the meantime, we've had several people call in, so let's go to the phone lines. And Bob has called in. Bob, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy, thanks. Appreciate what you do for the community here.
Thank you, sir. What can I do for you?
Yeah, I'm going to pose this in the hypothetical form, if you don't mind.
Sure. I get that. A friend of mine.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So about 10 years ago, a family member passed away. I've been collecting, or this person's been collecting some firearms over the years. Anyway, came across one that had some custom work done to it. Anyway, it's got a integrated silencer, little 22 rifle. I mean, nothing crazy, right? A little 22. Anyway, I'd like to get from a legal perspective, how to make it legal, right? To own this particular rifle with a silencer built in, if that makes sense.
Bob, yeah, it's a great question, and thanks for calling. It all depends on whether whoever owned that originally, whether they registered it under the National Firearms Act of 1934 as a suppressor or silencer. If it was never registered originally, if somebody just built it without permission from the government or bought it, from whomever, and didn't register it with the government, then there's actually no way to register it after the fact. That's a problem. God, it's been heartbreaking too. I've had people walk in my office, for a consultation, like with a gym bag. One gentleman walked in and unzipped this gym bag and pulled out an absolutely pristine, perfect Sturmgewehr 44. It was the original automatic, quote-unquote, assault rifle, if you want to call it that, built by the Germans during World War II. And this thing was he found in, packed away in grease, not the country, the lubricant, in perfect position, looked like it had never been fired, probably worth $30,000 or $40,000 as a collector's item. But it was in Grandpa's basement, and Grandpa had never registered it. And there's no way to legally do that after the fact. And I've had many other examples of exactly the same kind of thing happen. So Bob, the first question is to figure out if it was ever registered. If it was, even if the person is deceased who registered it originally, their estate, their personal representative can transfer it tax-free to a lawful heir of that person who registered that gun originally, or who held the tax stamp on it originally. And that's through a Form 5, an NFA Form 5. You do that with the ATF. It's tax-free. You have to wait a while. The ATF approves it. Boom. Now it's transferred into the new owner's name. But that's all dependent on whether it was registered appropriately originally. And that can be a big deal. Let's go back to the phone lines. Yeah, we got time to go back to the phone lines. It looks like Joseph has a suppressor question, too. Joseph, you there?
I am.
Yeah,
good evening, sir.
Sure,
Hey, I
and
wanna
to you.
thank you for your Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. That's a great course.
Thank you very much.
It's your previous caller was a perfect segue into suppressors. With suppressors being bearable arms, how is the $200 tax stamp that is in all intensive purposes a poll tax? How is that legal? And is there even a snowball's chance in heck of getting that overturned?
Well, really, that would apply. It's a great question, Joseph, and thanks so much for calling the Gun Guy Show. It's a fabulous question and really intriguing from a legal perspective. And really, it applies to anything under the NFA, anything regulated under the NFA, not just suppressors. So it would be true of short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, machine guns, destructive devices, anything else regulated by the NFA. I think the argument is strongest with respect to suppressors, exactly to your point or to your question, which is first of all, is the tax intended to disrupt the exercise of a constitutional right? And that's why the analogy to poll tax is such a good one, because, and I'm sure this reason you use the term, and it's smart of you to do so. Poll taxes, which were taxes on the ability to go vote, were found to be unconstitutional because they were put in place specifically, intentionally, to prevent people from exercising their right to vote. If you didn't have the money to go vote, you couldn't exercise your right to do so. Now, interestingly enough, the right to vote is actually not in the Bill of Rights. There's a later amendment that says you can't be discriminated against in terms of your ability to go vote. But the point there is poll taxes were found to be unconstitutional. So why isn't a $200 cost to possess a firearm or in the form of a suppressor also unconstitutional? The first question is whether it is a bearable arm, exactly to Joseph's point. The second question, though, is that under the Heller decision from 2008, only those firearms, and under federal law, suppressors considered to be a firearm, expressly considered to be a firearm, it says only those firearms commonly used for lawful purposes are protected by the Second Amendment. Well, are suppressors commonly owned for lawful purposes? I mean, Joseph and I would sure as hell say yes. I own 4 of them. I love the hell out of them. I'd like to buy more. Once you start shooting with suppressors, they're completely addicting. How many millions and millions of suppressors are there in this country? I do not know. The National Shooting Sports Foundation may be able to answer that question for us. But that is an issue. And then is that $200 tax stamp fee a barrier, assuming that they're protected by the Second Amendment, to you exercising a constitutionally protected right? Arguably, yes. I mean, you know where that $200 tax stamp amount comes from? Really interesting point. When the National Firearms Act of 1934 was passed, they were focused not just on suppressors and short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns. They were also very much focused on machine guns, mainly because of all the gangster movies. And yes, there were real gangsters running around with Thompson submachine guns, primarily, fully automatic firearms, shooting places up, robbing banks, shooting at cops. A lot of it was glamorized in Hollywood. A lot of people say the only reason we have the NFA is because of Hollywood. But you know where the $200 tax stamp fee comes from? Is in 1934, when they passed the NFA, that was the cost of a Thompson submachine gun. And so they imposed a 100% tax on a Thompson submachine gun with the idea that less people would buy them because you got to pay double the cost of the gun. Does that sound like a poll tax? Oh, hell yes. But then the question becomes, is that Thompson submachine gun, is the right to possess a Thompson submachine gun protected by the Second Amendment? All interesting stuff. I've gone well past the 3/4 hour. We're going to come back and have like a 1-minute segment. Unfortunately, we come back. If you're on hold and we haven't gotten to your call, please call me back next week, because I really love taking calls, especially great calls like what we've had tonight, including the call from Joseph. Right now, we got to get into a break. Guy Relford from the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
An IMPD officer fired his gun and killed someone.
93 WIBC.
Body cam video shows the officer telling the man to stop.
Do the right thing, put the gun down and surrender.
Another news update is minutes away.
You are paying more for hospital care.
Indiana has the 8th highest prices for care at hospitals.
Benefits cost more and more.
On the level, on the go.
McDonald's is waving goodbye to free drink refills.
93 WIBC Mobile News.
Guy Relford from my friends at Junk Viking. This is a group of guys. I've met these guys. They've worked for me and my wife. They do a fabulous job. They serve Hamilton County and the surrounding area. You can find them at junkviking.com or give them a call at 317-349-3169. That's 317-349-3169. Whether it's a single item pickup or a full house or even an estate clean out, these are the guys to help you out. They've got great reviews on Facebook and Google. They can help demolish and remove sheds, decks, play sets, hot tubs, anything else you need hauled off or demolished. Check out my friends at chunkviking.com.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndyHomebuyer.com. No inspection, no fuss. We only need to see it once. The IndyHomebuyer.com. Private properties, tenants don't pay. Just hand us some keys and your problems go away. Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndyHomebuyer.com. Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndyHomebuyer.com. No matter your reason for selling, the IndyHomebuyer.com will pay cash for your house in any condition. If you're dealing with deadbeat tenants, big repairs, or inheritance, the IndyHomebuyer.com is the solution. No hassle, no inspections. The IndyHomebuyer.com. Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndyHomebuyer.com. Get out fast, get cash, sell your home in a flash. The IndyHomebuyer.com.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Premier Deck Coating, the ultimate deck protection. Who are they? Well, they're a sister company of Rhino Shield, and Premier Deck Coating is the product you need if you're tired of applying the same old stain and paint every couple of years to your deck. It's Terry, Stacy, and David and I have a deck that's probably 25 years old. The countless hours and the money that we spend on maintaining that deck never ends. And then we heard about Premier Deck Coating, family-owned, based right here in Indy, and they are going to completely transform our deck with their special formulated product, which repels moisture, scratch-resistant in virtually any color that we want, and backed by a 10-year guarantee. No more spending time staining or painting every year. Premier Deck Coating will keep our deck looking great for years to come. Premier Deck Coating can also do fences and pergolas, too. For a free quote, call 317-696 888-4071 or visit premierdeckcoating.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for a very short last segment here on this week's edition of The Gun Guy Show. I've been mentioning the Supreme Court, and yes, we're going to get a decision in the Rahimi case. We'll have to see where that goes. But also, just this week, on the 16th, Thursday, the Supreme Court had a conference on whether or not it's going to take 5 related cases. It could take all, it could take none, could just take one. But it's cases involving a so-called assault weapon ban. And a lot of us have been waiting on this ever since the Bruin case came out on Text, History, and Tradition. My first reaction on reading that decision was, oh, these assault weapon bans across the country are dead. No way they can support those under Text, History, and Tradition, the new test. You're going to ban the most popular rifles in America? You know, again, we talked about the test and Heller being lawfully used for lawful purposes. Oh, hell yes. They're most commonly owned rifles in America. And is there a history and tradition of banning the most popular rifle in America? Well, of course not. And so I look at that and say there's no way that these withstand Supreme Court scrutiny with this Supreme Court. But there's no guarantee they're going to take the cases. That's what becomes interesting. And get this, there's something called the Rule of 4. It's not in the Constitution. It's not in any statute. But the rule is that at least 4 of the 9 justices have to decide to take a case, for the Supreme Court to take a case. Just 4. But if those 4 don't vote to take it, then they simply don't take it, and we go on from there. Fascinating stuff. We'll see what they do. We would expect a ruling here this term, which is sooner than later. Right now, thank you for joining us this week. Come back next week. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
The great vehicles are at Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield, and they are your EV headquarters. You should shop the Moore selection. Head to Andy Moore Ford or AndyMooreFord.com. Shop the EV models like the Mustang Mach-E, which I've driven, the E-Transit, the F-150 Lightning, which is incredible. All in stock with more arriving daily. Check out More Power. The Ford Mustang Mach-E combines the iconic Mustang heritage with the benefits of an electric vehicle. Not just efficient, incredibly stylish, it's an exhilarating driving experience. But you need more room, more versatility out of your vehicle. The all-electric F-150 Lightning has you covered with seating for up to 5, intelligent backup power, and onboard power for all your tools and gear. This is the all-electric truck that is built for it all. Visit my friends down at Andy Moore Ford, and they'll help make the switch to an EV easier than ever. Check them out on Main Street in Plainfield or online at Andy Moore Ford.